Hello peeps, this is a Hillbilly halfwit here guys, and today we're going to be talking about an article that says it's going to be the end of Welsh farming by 2030, and these nutcases, they'll try to do it if they can. So please comment, rate and subscribe, because I've noticed my subscribers have been dropping off, and also my views have just dropped off like a stone. So as usual, the switch has been switched off when we hit the target. But never mind, let's keep going. So let's look at this. Livestock farming will be dead in Wales within a few years, says environmentalist. Now, I have to be honest, I saw this on Facebook yesterday, so I hope they don't mind me using this, but I hadn't noticed anybody else hadn't really talked about it. They'd just shown the headline. So let's read it and show talk about it, because it's mad. This is a short excerpt from near the end of it, so I thought I'd show you. Remember, only 320,000 is the total Welsh agricultural budget for all of farming in Wales. And so far, Welsh universities have received 655,000 of funding from research councils, amounting to one project at Aberystwyth University. Of the 43 million they distributed, which is 1.5%. And according to a report by Green Alliance, the UK government should invest in Teesside, the Golden Triangle, London, Oxford and Cambridge, rather than in Wales. We are at the bottom of the heap in terms of support from British establishment in this new industry. Mr. Clubb concludes we have seen two very clear cases of transformation that have completely failed. Look at the amount of money there. They're actually giving huge amounts of money to the University of Aberystwyth to grow food in labs and not grow as farming food, but fake Frankenstein food. That's the Welsh University of Aberystwyth. Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And the money they're getting is unreal. They're actually using our own money against us. Let's go and read this article anyway. I'll read most of this and then you can see what you think about it, because this is what they want to do to farming in Wales. A guy called Martin Shipton wrote it. Significant changes in eating habits will inevitably lead to the demise of livestock farming in Wales, according to one of the nation's leading environmentalists. Gareth Clubb, director of WWF Cymru, has made the claim in a personal blog post written in Welsh under his social media name, Naturalist. After listing existing challenges, including the high prices of energy, fuel, food and medicines, and veterinary costs, he focused on the way consumer demand for meat is declining. Well, that is false, because it isn't. He writes, eating patterns are gradually changing away from meat and towards alternative high-protein foods, produced using plants or micro mushrooms. 58% of the population have taken steps to reduce or stop eating meat, although some have resumed eating it. Most of these big cafes have just gone vegan, have had to close. The biggest one in Cardiff had to close. In Wales, 29% of the population have stopped eating meat or eat less of it. Young people are much more likely to be vegetarians or vegans than older people. 24% of those aged 18 to 24 compared to 4% of those aged 65. Well, I wonder why that is. Is it because they're being brainwashed in school and university? I think it could well be, by the cult. The price of alternative food is an important factor as it competes on the price for the same buyers. After all, 44% of people believe that the price of alternative food is currently too high. But where the price of meat is volatile, the price of food from plants falls quickly. In the Netherlands, it has been cheaper than meat since 2022. Somebody ought to fact check this, because this is wrong. They're making these things up. The Welsh Government predicts that there will be an annual increase of 11% in the sales of these foods during the period 2019 to 2030, and this increase will completely replace the fall in eating red meat. Plant milk sales, milk in a plant, yeah, what a load of wallies. flying in plant milk saves the planet, eh? Yeah, we all know that's nonsense. Plant milk sales were 7% of the milk market in UK in 2022, with growth of 24% over the 2 years to 22. And for those who claim that the product, like meat, will not be acceptable to most customers, note a taste test where 67% of customers preferred fake chicken nuggets to meat chicken nuggets. Well, I remember seeing Gareth Wyn-Jones doing a test with these dogs on fake meat and normal meat, and the dogs left all of the fake meat on the floor. They wouldn't even sniff it. And most of that is dog food. All this is clear challenge for the livestock industry in terms of the domestic market. We can assume that this pattern will be similar in the larger market in England. See, the trouble is here, what they're assuming here is that when it comes round to January every time, we have a UK nudge unit all around the UK, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England, pushing us to have veganuary, aren't we? Veganuary. That's what happens. So every year you're having these policies blurred at people. And then by the time they've had it for a month, everybody's had a gutsful of it all and they move on. Mr. Clubb argues that the industry caused by the problems caused by the intensive farming industry for the environment and society generally are currently tolerated because governments of all kinds prioritise the availability of food at low cost. Well, no, it's called free choice, and farming has been around since the Iron Age and people have always eaten meat. That's why cities and the populations rose in the first place, because of farming. Because people were dying on a huge scale before from malnutrition. Yet there are health costs for the individual from eating too much meat. Increased risk of obesity, heart disease, inflammation of the lungs, bowel cancer, diabetes, which in turn cause a high cost to the health service. Not to mention the impact of the individual and the family. And their environmental costs, especially from intensive farming, including river pollution, air pollution, greenhouse gases, resistance to antibiotics, as well as the impact on the welfare of animals themselves. Well, let's talk about this food is grown in a laboratory. It's all multi-processed food, which we all know processed food is bad for you, but makes you put on weight. Colouring in food. I remember 10 years ago, there was a big scare on telly saying food colouring gives people cancer, and then that suddenly disappeared. So I'd rather eat proper food than made up food that's blended together like a mush, to be quite honest with you. This guy is obviously he's a academic who hates farming. He's trying to push the anti-meat eating agenda. He writes, but I suspect there's an even bigger threat on the horizon with the ability to bring the livestock industry in Wales and the rest of the world to its knees. A serious threat to the viability of the livestock sector in Wales are technologies that will produce food like meat at a much cheaper price than the livestock industry can produce real meat. But your stuff tastes like dog food, and real meat tastes lovely and is good for you. According to Rethink X, a think tank, here we go, a think tank. So remember, as we see these videos, we realise that a think tank is a government-funded nudge unit that is basically there to push people into doing what they want. Civil service. Oh, God, sorry, got a bit of cough there. A think tank that analyzes the impacts of technological change. The price of producing a kilogram of molecules by precision fermentation fell from 1 million in 2000 to around 100 million. 1 million in 2000 to $100 in 2019. It's predicted that the price will drop below $10 per kilogram by 2025, partly due to huge investment in this area. So it's going to be cheaper because they invest $7 billion into it by the end of 22, with more than half of that investment in the 2 years, 21-22. So they're pushing huge amounts of our tax money to stop us eating meat. That is what is going on. Billions and billions around the world. They're trying to destroy us. What it is, it really is, this is anti-meat eating people who've got into positions of power are creating policy against most of the population. As a result, protein molecules produced by precision fermentation will compete with protein. I read that before, didn't I? Rethink X predicts that 90% of milk protein and cheese in the USA will be produced by precision fermentation. 55% of beef will be produced in the same way by 2030, and the number of cows will have decreased by 50% by the same year as a result. You can argue of the exact year that price of the product, like meat, will compete with the price of. It is harder to argue with the price trend. And although cattle will be affected first, the same process will affect every single meat sector, including sheep, chickens, fish, shellfish. Ultimately, says Rethink X, all industrial agribusinesses are fickle and efficient with low profits, and all will go out of business due to a high production cost and reduced demand for their products. They are pushing us to go out of business in the West. There is an active amount of people, a bit of a nutty cult, who are trying to get food under their hand, so they're the only ones selling it. Mr. Clubb was asked what this will mean for the livestock sector in Wales. He responds, an inevitable demise. By 2030, Rethink X says there will be no money in the dairy or beef sectors. The chicken, pig and fish sectors will follow quickly. We can assume that the sheep sector will also follow the same path. The business that supply the livestock industries will also suffer, including feed crops, slaughterhouses and processors of meat, milk and cheese. The land currently used for grazing animals will no longer be used. It follows that there will be a significant fall in the value of farmland and a fall of 40 to 80% according to Rethink X. Well, that's complete nonsense, because due to all this tree planting, the price of land will go through the roof. So you have plenty of trees growing that you can't eat, and you'll be starving looking at the nice trees. That's what's going to happen. You'll be there thin as a rake, with your kids in malnutrition, bad bones, drinking this crappy stuff and eating this pap, while a tree is there growing in replace of lovely farm-grown Welsh food. The implications in Wales are so much more profound than they are in England. A higher percentage of people in Wales work in the agricultural sector, so livelihoods will be affected to a much greater extent. The livestock sector dominates agriculture in Wales. Yes, because we're a farming country. That's why it's so beautiful here. With 86% of agricultural land being grazing land, and subsidies cover 67% of the income of these farms. The subsidies cover that to give the people in the UK food on the table 3 times a day. Doctors, nurses, anybody who you think is more important has to eat 3 times a day, else they will die. The most important person, if you really put your mind to it, is a person putting that food there ready for you, and the person delivering it to you. And we're all considered the scum of the UK for some reason. I don't understand it. Mass brainwashing. 43% of the sector's employees are Welsh speakers, a very high percentage compared to the general population, 19%, and most farms in Wales are small farms with 55% under 20 hectares. Yes, like mine. These patterns of ownership, demographics and language means that Welsh farms are absolutely central to the Welsh language and culture in the country. And if we don't want to see this industry fall off a cliff with huge negative implication for social, economic and linguistic fabric of our rural areas, and indeed the country, we must prepare for the future that is busy coming to us. They're pushing this future to us. Our own government is pushing this anti-meat eating future towards us. It's actually actively trying to destroy Welsh stock farming. All these people deciding this are in the government making these decisions. It's like I've said in my previous videos, the people making decisions are academic protesters. They're not people there to help the public. He states it's possible that a percentage of the farming businesses will continue to produce meat. They will be the farms that have the highest standards in terms of animal welfare and meat quality, because they will supply the restaurant and butchers, providing meat for those who are willing to pay a very high price for the product. It is quite possible that the survivors will be the organic farms that follow a nature-friendly path. All farms are nature-friendly. That's why Wales has got the most beautiful countryside in the UK, in the world. We have the best looked after animals in the world. And that is a fact. These people are nutty academics. Others, where the soil allows, will move to produce crops, fruit and vegetables. Can you imagine me trying to produce fruit up here? It's rained solidly since last October. So 7 months it's rained. How would I produce a fruit tree in mid-Wales? These people are completely balmy. I can't even walk on my fields. It's academic-led nonsense. After all, only a quarter of the daily proportion of vegetables and fruit is grown in Wales. Because it doesn't allow it. It's too cold here, don't they understand? Fruit is grown in areas where they can have a couple of crops of fruit because it's hot all year round. These people have no idea what they're on about. In order to provide the 5 daily portions needed for healthy living, it would be necessary to increase the land planted for fruit and vegetables approximately 2%. But the only possibility of staying on the land for the greater part of the whole farming families is to diversify, and that urgently. Some will choose to cater for tourism. After all, there will be a great deal more wildlife to be found as the countryside starts to reforest naturally. The rivers will flow unpolluted in the waters above the sewerage pipes as a result of the tremendous reduction in agricultural waste. Oh, do you know what's going to happen? The increase in tourism is going to bring thousands and thousands more cars. It's going to bring hundreds and thousands of more plane flights to fly to Wales. All these people are going to be staying in these cottages, polluting the rivers with the crap that's going down the pot. That goes somewhere, doesn't it, to a treatment plant, and then they're put straight out in the river. These people are completely balmy. They've got this nirvana that is just nonsense, to be honest. And especially saying that farmers are destroying the rivers, that's nonsense for a start with. Renewable energy infrastructure on their land, and as a matter of urgency, the Welsh Government should provide support for its absolutely essential diversification to take place as soon as possible. And perhaps the Welsh Government should eye the industry like meat as an opportunity as well as a threat, because the people of Wales will buy their food from it. Come what may, and better to raise businesses here than that will produce it, rather than continuing to be completely dependent on food produced beyond our borders. Wales is producing its own meat now in our borders, the best in the world. Other countries want to buy our meat because it's so good and looked after so well, and these knobs deciding they want to grow it in a petri dish. Processed bullshit. So far, Welsh universities have received 655k of funding from the research councils, amounting to one project at Aberystwyth University of the 43 million they distributed, which is 1.5%. And according to a report by Green Alliance, the UK government should invest in Teesside and the Golden Triangle, London, Oxford and Cambridge. I'd call it the golden shithole. Full of addled brains, I have to be honest. Like, what was that programme? Shitter. Rather than in Wales. We're at the bottom of the heap in terms of support from the British establishment in this new industry. It's not an industry, it's an excuse to remove the farming community off the land and the poor in society to pay more tax. That's what it's all about. Gaza rant today. Mr. Cub concludes, we have seen two very clear cases of transformation that have completely failed the workers of Wales. The communities of the coal fields and the steel workers. They've all been completely failed by you lot, who won't allow them to make steel and mine coal, you wankers. There is no time to waste if we want to avoid another terrifying failure. But this time for the thousands of families that depend on the meat industries and our rural and Welsh language society that depends on those families. What a complete tosser Mr. Clubb is. They need to put their faces to these things, so when they come into an area, we can all turn our backs to them and walk away from them, because they are literally mad. And the most annoying thing is, our Welsh government is fully on board with this. They want to destroy our farming industry, especially stock farming. Now, since the Iron Ages, all our fields have been made in the UK and Wales and Scotland and Ireland, and that has kept the poor in society with food on the table. Then they could make a decent living by selling that produce, and that's what made the cities grow. So cities can consume everything that we produce. We don't eat it here. Most of it is consumed by the people that are writing these crappy articles. Everything that's consumed, all the pollution that is made in cities, and we are blamed for it all. Biggest contract on earth. Please comment, rate and subscribe, and I'm sorry I got a bit worked up at the end of that because this bloke got me pissed off. Ah!